What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for November 11th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Victory Monday edition of the podcast. More on the game here in a minute, but first, some quick housekeeping notes. First and foremost, happy Veterans Day out there to anyone who is a veteran and has served to help keep us free. And if you have a veteran who paid the ultimate sacrifice, thank you for that. I think this is something that it's very important to me, and I think it goes way beyond political values and political beliefs and opinions and anything like that. It doesn't matter which side you're on. I think we need to take today and go thank a veteran, appreciate what they've done, especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. I sincerely thank you for your sacrifices and everything you've done. And as I mentioned, if you have someone in your family who was a veteran for any war and did not make it or is no longer with us, thank you for their service as well. I really do something nice today. Go out, buy a coffee for a veteran if you see someone out. But just remember, without those guys and girls doing what they do and sacrificing what they do, we're not able to do the things we do. So I, for one, truly appreciate it. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. All right, be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word. Subscribe, like, all that other good stuff. Let's out-trick the algorithm. And if you want to see the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame Heritage Collection, it is now available online. The link is in the description. It takes you to the website with the link to the online archives. I've been having a lot of fun working with that. Trying to update that page with some new pictures from the induction ceremony last week. We had a nice little museum display set up, so stay tuned for that. But all of that information is in the description. All right, let's break down this game. First and foremost, 5 straight, 34-6. They weren't perfect. They were not perfect, but they did not need to be perfect. And they were perfect when they needed to. They did exactly what they should have done to this team yesterday. I told you yesterday on our breakdown that there was no way, if the Eagles play the way they are capable and should be playing, that this game would be close. And it wasn't. And truthfully, I'm not going to apologize for this. I think they're playing confidently. I think I forget now at this point who was on the schedule. These guys are playing like a Super Bowl contender. They are doing exactly what they should be doing to teams they should be doing it to. They should be beating the Cowboys 34-6. They should be blowing out the Giants. They should be blowing out the Bengals. So they've been playing with that confidence level, and to me, that's what they should. I'm not going to apologize for it. They're playing like a Super Bowl contender. And another thing I'm not going to apologize for, I think we need to take a step back and reevaluate Nick Sirianni as the coach of this team. Yes, sometimes he's a clown show. Yes, sometimes his decision-making costs points and takes points off the board. But all he does is win. And I mean, you look at his record since he's been in the league, and sure, you can point to the roster, but the record speaks for itself, and he has this team believing in themselves. He has this team ready to play. At one point, after that fumble by Jalen that had the Cowboys set to, I believe they would have gone and taken the lead on that or whatever it was, they held them to the field goal. They could have folded there. They could have started looking ahead to Washington, but they did not panic. This team does not panic. This team stays focused on what they want to do in all the adversity. And maybe part of that stems from learning from last year. I don't know. But I think we need to take a step back and look at Nick Sirianni and say, maybe he's a pretty damn good coach. Yes, he's goofy as hell sometimes. Yes, his decision-making is questionable at times. But if you look back at Andy Reid, there were times where we said similar things. Maybe not the clown show part or the goofy as hell, but how many times did we say, Andy, you need to manage the clock better? Andy Reid's clock management cost us a chance to win Super Bowl 39. So I think, and we kind of just accepted that that's who Andy Reid was. I think it's time at this point, because of how he gets this team ready to play, it might be time to just accept that maybe that's just who Nick Sirianni is, and we need to take it because the end product is what we want and what we need. He's taken us to a Super Bowl sooner than what Andy Reid did. So I know that's controversial. I know it's not a popular opinion to have, but look, the man's record speaks for itself. That team, that was a turning point in that game. That game could have gone the other way. It really, really could have. I think it was 14-6, whatever it was. But it could have gone the other way. And they did not panic. And Jalen went over and said thank you to the defense, which to me, more on that in a minute, that's a sign of true leadership. I don't know. You can disagree. I'm sure the Back to the Future voice and text line is going to be blowing up with this today. But I think it's time we take a step back and look at the job that Nick Sirianni has done with this team. Like, this could have been a close game. This could have been one of those games that slipped away. Instead, you have Kenny Two Gloves playing. You have the starters resting on a short week leading into a big game against the Washington Commanders, who had to play to the very end. That's coaching. That's the coach. And again, he's not perfect. He is not perfect. But he does those little things right that this team needs. So be sure to let me know your thoughts on the Back to the Future voice and text line on Nick Sirianni. Can't wait for the back and forth today. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, absolute studs. Jalen Carter, absolute man. Grown man playing among boys yesterday. That was just reminiscent of Jerome Brown. And like I said, this team is playing with confidence on defense. And look out. I mean, they got a little bit of swag, and Zach Bond, re-sign him now. Like, they just looked awesome on defense. Let's take a quick look at the keys to the game. I said don't look ahead, and I think they're good. I mean, like I said, there was a point in that game where it could have gone the other way, but the team rallied around, and they came back, and it was a good answer on offense. Jalen fumbled it. They came right down and scored. That is key. You had the starters resting in the fourth quarter. They did exactly what they needed to do to this Dallas team. I said you're going to have to run the ball to open up the pass. They had 187 rushing yards. They really ran the ball. Saquon didn't have his best game, but again, he did not need to. It was refreshing to see them be able to win a game without Saquon running for 150 yards. And it did set up the passing game. AJ had a monster game. Jalen looked, again, very confident passing the ball. So he did have the 2 turnovers. The fumble was just brutal. And on the interception, maybe he held on to it for a second too long. But the Cowboys made one hell of a defensive play on that. So I can't really get mad about his being aggressive there or anything. That was just one hell of an interception. And then finally I said, make Cooper Rush beat you. Shut down the running game. There were some gash plays in there that made me nervous at times. But for the most part, the Cowboys could not get off the field or stay on the field on third down. Cooper Rush had 45 yards. They did their job. 4 fumbles and an interception. The fact that Jalen, they picked him up, I think is key. And I love the way this team is playing right now. And it's awesome to see. Like I said, I think with Jalen, he's still playing well. He's going to have some turnovers every now and then. The fumble, it was reminiscent to what he did in the Super Bowl. But that interception, I can't be mad at that because that was a hell of a play. And yeah, I think he did hold on to it for a second or two too long. But I think as a complete game, Jalen was money today. Or yesterday. You can't be upset about that. One quick note before we get into the GOAT of the game. Jerry Jones blamed the sun in the first half on how the Cowboys played. Now, a couple things about this. First of all, you got to choose the side. The Eagles won the toss and deferred. You got to choose the side. Your coach or your players chose to go into that side, one. Two, if I'm not mistaken, I believe AT&T Stadium has not only a retractable roof, but I think there's curtains on that one side that's shut, that you could have shut the curtains to block the sun out. So that's either, I don't know if you can do it during the game, probably not, but that's just piss poor planning, and it's great to see the dumpster fire that is the Dallas Cowboys dumpster fire. You gotta love it. And then around the NFC East yesterday, I mean, the day started with the Giants gianting. Finally, they were down big. Daniel Jones led them, tied the game up to send it to overtime. Giants won the toss, fumbled on the first play. I mean, could it have been any better for the NFC, as Eagles fans, with the way the NFC East played out? Washington blew a lead in Pittsburgh, or I guess they were at home against Pittsburgh. You got to love it. Setting up a big showdown on Thursday night down at the Link. The Commanders, Eagles. Eagles are now in first place. Your first place, Philadelphia Eagles. They could build a little bit of a cushion with a win on Thursday. And I think a win on Thursday will go a long way in hopefully silencing the doubters of, well, they haven't played anybody. But it was a good day for the NFC East. But who was the GOAT of the game? Was it Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown? And I couldn't pick one guy off the defense. It could have been Zach Bond, could have been Jalen Carter, could have been Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, take your picks. We're going to put the defense in general. Was it Jalen, AJ, or the defense? Who was your GOAT of the game? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? Want to vent to me about Sirianni and tell me how wrong I am? That's fine. You're wrong. We need to take a look at this dude and realize he's goofy as hell. He makes some bad decisions, but he gets the job done. So, but more importantly, let me know your go to the game. Jalen, AJ, or the defense as a whole. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. It's a victory Monday. Your Philadelphia Eagles are in first place. They are 7-2 and looking good. And I'm not going to apologize for it. This team is looking like a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. All right. Your Philadelphia 76ers won yesterday. 107-105 in overtime against the Hornets. Jarrett McCain had 27 points off the bench. Gershon Yabusele had 20. Paul George, 15, 9 assists. They take on the Knicks tomorrow. Will Joe make his return, or will there be a mysterious injury which will probably blow Adam Silver's head off if Joe was suspended for 3 games and now doesn't come back and play tomorrow? And tomorrow is an NBA League Cup matchup, so they'll have that cool-looking blue court as well. But good win for the Sixers. Let's see if they can string together some and dig themselves out of this hole as we move toward the end of November, which is crazy that we're only a couple weeks from Thanksgiving already. Just insane. Flyers are taking on the Sharks tonight down at the Wells Fargo Center at 7. They're looking to continue their good play. Hopefully they can get a win and not suffer the overtime loss. But that's tonight at 7. I did mention that Thanksgiving is around the corner. Just a quick heads up. We're less than a week away from the start of the second annual This Day in Philly Sports History gift and food drive, all benefiting the Maddie and Dixon community covered. I will have details coming out later this week, but we're going to do a 2-prong approach. Gift cards for the first 2 weeks, and then we'll do our reverse advent calendar once December starts, and then we'll get into our what we're thankful for in Philly sports. And I think we got to take a hard look. We should be kind of thankful for Nick Sirianni right now. I know it's not the popular opinion, but you could have Mike McCarthy. Just saying. All right, today we're going to go back to 1930. And on this day in 1930, the first professional hockey game featuring a team from Philadelphia took place today. And you might be saying, wait a minute, Jim, I thought you said the Flyers were part of the second six expansion in 1967. They were. But 37 years before the Flyers came into play, the Philadelphia Quakers played in the NHL for one season. They played in 1929 as the Pittsburgh Pirates, but due to the Great Depression and not having enough money to get a new arena built, they went on a temporary. It was only supposed to be a couple of years until they got the stadium or the arena built, but they moved to Philadelphia until that new arena and everything could be fixed up. Unfortunately, they were terrible. Actually, the Philadelphia Quakers were worse than terrible. They went 4-36-4 in the 1930-1931 season. Neither team, Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, had another hockey team until that second six expansion 37 years later. That's how bad. The league basically suspended and shut the team down. They fined them. They suspended. They wanted no parts of it because they were that bad. But on this day in 1930, Philadelphia Quakers played their first game, losing 3-0 to the New York Rangers, which would be a theme of that season for the Philadelphia Quakers. But before the Flyers were the Flyers, the Quakers were the hockey team in Philly. Even though it was for 1 year, and even though they were terrible, the Philadelphia Quakers were the first NHL team to play in Philadelphia, coming via Pittsburgh, playing so bad that the NHL decided to suspend them and not give Pittsburgh or Philly an NHL team until 1967. Speaking of the Quakers, Philly Goats got you covered. I completely forgot about this when we talked about the Quakers last year. There is a replica Philadelphia Quakers jersey sweatshirt that you can get on Philly Goat. It's actually awesome. So go check it out. Get the Quakers sweatshirt. Check out their Eagles gear. They got something for Victory Monday. Whatever you want, they got. So go to Philly Goat, get some early Christmas shopping done, and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off. But go in honor of the Philadelphia Quakers starting their season today in 1930. Go pick up the Philadelphia Quakers sweatshirt. It's actually pretty awesome. And use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, finally. Also, on this day in Philly sports history, had to really dig into the Inquirer for this one because sports just was not what it was back then. And when you're reading the old newspapers from like the 20s and 30s, there's a lot of text, not many pictures, just text of like just a lot. So luckily newspapers have gotten more streamlined over the years. But on this day in Philly, 35,000, which was the biggest non-college crowd to ever watch a football game at Franklin Field, saw an American Legion team beat the Quantico Marines 13-7 in the Armistice Day Classic at Franklin Field. The big story that the reporter was talking about was the American Legion team's use of the forward pass and just how dazzling and spectacular it was that they were passing the ball down the field. But it was the American Legion team beating the Quantico Marines 13-7 in the Armistice Day Classic at Franklin Field. The other big story or big headline I saw that was bigger than most of the other stories in there, Abington and Lower Merion boys soccer, they went 1-1, or they tied 1-1 in a huge high school soccer matchup as they were winding down their season, getting ready for the playoffs. Apparently, Abington was not very good. Lower Merion was. So this was a huge upset by the Abington Ghosts, tying the Lower Merion. I'm not even sure what the Lower Merion. I should know this. I forget what Lower Merion is. But either way, Abington and Lower Merion tied 1-1 in soccer on this day. And really the only other thing, there was a series of articles that I guess they were doing each day or each week where Connie Mack was talking about his life in baseball. But I thought this was great. There was an ad for the Temple Lafayette football game that Saturday at Temple Stadium. Tickets for general admission, $1. Reserve seats, $2 and $2.50. Temple Stadium out on Limekiln Pike in Ambler. $1 for general admission tickets to an NCAA football game. 1930, I guess maybe partly because of the Depression, partly because it was the 30s, but man, I thought that was interesting. But all that happened on this day also in Philly sports. But the big story, in 1930, the Philadelphia Quakers became the first NHL team to play representing the city of Philadelphia. They lost to the Rangers 3-0. They played so poorly that season that they got kicked out of the league, and both Pittsburgh and Philadelphia got punished for 37 years before they finally got the Flyers and the Penguins, respectively. But go get the Philadelphia Quakers shirt. It is a cool-looking shirt. I would love for the Flyers. I don't think they do that much in hockey, but I would love for them to wear like a throwback to the Quakers and just see what those jerseys look like as updated, modern things. But that is what it is. Let me know your GOAT of the game. Jalen, AJ, or the defense. Also, give me your thoughts on Sirianni, but I think it's time we have a series. We look within and maybe, just maybe, accept that this is who he is, and he's a pretty darn good football coach at that. But get your thoughts about the GOAT, Sirianni. Want to laugh at the Cowboys and blaming the sun in the stadium that Jerry built? Gotta love it, man. You have to love it. When the teams just implode like that, you have to love it. But all of that is fair game on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Excuse me. This dang on cold, man. It's killing me. But all of that is fair game on the Back to the Future voice and text line. It's a Victory Monday. Enjoy. Thank you to all the veterans out there. I truly appreciate it. Go have yourselves a Monday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for November 11th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.